Hi everyone, welcome to the Family Matters Show. I'm Benjamin Bryant and I'm an accredited family law specialist here at Bryant McKinnon Lawyers. Today I'm joined by my business partner Heather McKinnon, also accredited specialist. My ex has hired a lawyer and has sent me a very demanding letter requesting access to all of my finances. Is that normal? I am an Australian resident but originally from Australia and don't know the laws here. Like, I'm not originally from Australia and don't know the laws here. My English is also not that good. I don't have money to hire a lawyer and legal aid can't help me. What is your advice for people who can't afford a lawyer?
So the first part of the question was getting the letter from the other party's letter asking for things like bank accounts, superannuation statements, real estate appraisals. Those letters are very confronting to people who are stressed and just starting down the path of looking at what happens financially. But the reason you've got the letter is that under the Family Law Act in Australia, both spouses have to give what we call full and frank disclosure of their finances, so that you can make a decision about what's going to happen with your money going forward, having full understanding of what the assets and liabilities are. There are many couples who do a division of task where one manages the finance and the other might manage career or whatever the situation is. So you shouldn't feel that there's something wrong with one party having more knowledge than the other, but the Act says that at the time of separation that knowledge gap's got to be filled in. So that's the first part of the question. The second part is a very common one, particularly in places like regional Australia, where people are worried about how to get legal advice if they've got to do a property settlement. Legal aid is funded by the New South Wales taxpayer, and it's fair enough. They don't fund people to work out how to divide assets. Often, even in small pools with superannuation and real estate, we might have 500,000 or 600,000 in the average case. Well, the New South Wales taxpayer shouldn't have to pay to divide that up. The real issue is negotiating with lawyers if you don't have cash flow to be able to pay your legal fees from the proceeds of your settlement. And certainly it's a product that we offer and consider. So if you don't have the ability to get money up front, but we assess that you are going to get significant funds at the end, we look at how those cases are funded. There's also borrowing available through different products called litigation lending loans that banks will make the same assessment. If they're confident that you're going to get your capital at the end, they will often advance you through credit card or personal loan money to cover your legal fees, so that you don't have to feel that you can't afford proper advice. So talk to the lawyers about funding, how they might help with getting you over the line. But it is important, if you have a complex case, that you get decent legal advice, because it can make a big difference.
And in terms of respect to the costs of lawyers, okay, but of course you can go to court to represent yourself. Going to court is not that expensive. You can do, there's filing fees, but there are exemptions available and things like that. And when you're at court, just to address the component that this viewer doesn't have an English background, I know that certainly when you're completing the court forms online, whether you're doing it yourself or with a lawyer, one of the questions that is asked and one of the things that the court needs to assess is what things need to be put in place to assist the litigant at the day of the hearing. Okay, like is an interpreter required?
So we work with interpreters in the system, regularly, because the nature of the makeup of the population, you've got to have really highly developed English skills. Many people have got adequate English skills for everyday life, but when they get into a forum where they've got to be really skilled verbally, they often will need an interpreter. And that's a service that's provided by the court and is easily organised if you need it.
And going back to the issue of disclosure, gone are the days of trial by ambush, okay? And so the legislation clearly sets out the documents and the information required by each party. And it goes, I think, to the very intention of what a property settlement is. What the parties are trying to do is finalise their property settlement, to get that finality or that, that absolute, the finish,
Closure.
Essentially, if there's non-disclosure, if you don't disclose, that could be a reason for either the court being apprehensive to make orders in your favour, or if the orders are made and there's been non-disclosure found afterwards, it could be a reason to open it all up again. Okay, so you don't get that closure that you're after. So I think it's really important that disclosure is exchanged between the parties, and certainly the legislation requires it. Just for the benefit of this, for this viewer, I just wanted to cite the relevant rules because, of course, access to the legislation is free in Australia, and you can just Google to get access to the legislation. So the relevant legislation that this viewer needs to know about is if matters were in the Federal Circuit Court, where most matters are, and most likely this matter, then this viewer should Google the Federal Circuit Court Rules 2001 and have a look at Rule 24.03 and 24.04. If it's a more complex matter, of course, and the matter's in the family court, then the relevant rule to Google would be the Family Law Rules 2014 and check out Rule 13.04. Okay, so that's specifically for this viewer to assist her with identify what is a reasonable request for disclosure and why we need it and why that lawyer that is demanding it essentially. So we do this show on the first Tuesday of every month. The next show will be on Tuesday, the 5th of March at 12 noon. And I think we're back answering more questions.
Before we go on holidays.
Answering some more questions of yours. If you do have any questions, please, of course, email it through to us at familymatters@bryantmckinnon.com.au or shoot us a message on Facebook. All right, bye for now.